Good morning and welcome to our 10 minutes at just after 10 today. So today we are talking about where is the profit? Can you find profit in automation? So if you can hear a bit of grumbling, we've got the dog under the desk. So
He's trying to get comfortable.
old man day today. So poor old Bean.
No.
Right, so can we find profit in automation? So the answer, of course, to that is going to be yes. So, our challenge today is to find a job to automate, something to do, something to make your life easier. So, if you took an hour today to automate a 5-minute job, you'd make a time profit in 13 days, you'd break even in 12 days. So, perhaps you save an extra hour to spend time with the family. Perhaps you take an extra hour to sell a product or deliver a service or bill out that hour to your clients and you sell it instead. So say you save time at £50 an hour and you're selling it for £100 an hour, you can be both time and cash rich in just a few minutes. So maybe a bit more than a few minutes. It depends what you're automating.
The interesting part about automation is people tend to put it off because it's one of those things where they think, this job only takes me 5 minutes, I'll just do it.
And then we just do it.
They do it every time. They do it 5 times in a week.
Or we don't do it.
Yeah, or it gets ignored completely, which is the other option.
Yeah.
So, really do have a look at automating processes because it might just be a quick job or what you think is a quick job. But the reality is, if it's not adding value in you doing it manually, why would you do it manually anyway? Just automate it.
Yeah.
It's so much easier.
Save yourself the time and do something more profitable with that instead. So we came up with 7 ideas on tasks in the finance arena, in your bookkeeping and accounts, that could be automated with a little bit of effort. So how many do you do and how much time are you saving by doing those?
So the first one we're going to suggest is email forwarding. So if you have any items coming into your inbox which are invoice related, as an example, you can have an auto forward to send them off to wherever they need to go to. Maybe it's Receipt Bank, maybe it's Xero Files, wherever they need to end up. It also tidies your inbox significantly, actually, in many instances.
Yeah, and you can set these rules up. So certainly in Gmail, which is what we use, I set up auto rules so that I forward the invoice and I take it out of my inbox and I put it in a folder marked sent to Receipt Bank, so that if I lose it or I need to find it, or perhaps something's gone wrong or an invoice attachment hasn't uploaded, I know where to find it. But it doesn't clog up my inbox, which is obviously what I'm trying to achieve here.
Speaking of inboxes, there's also the option to set up a finance inbox.
Yeah.
This automatically filters all your emails massively as well, which is really helpful. And actually, it's handy if you've got an outsourced bookkeeping department anyway, or just a finance department outsourced anyway, because all of a sudden everything gets filtered into basically centralized inbox. And all you need to do is set up some folders in it to keep it nice and tidy. You might have folders for invoices, some for statements, etc.
Or no folders. I'm a big fan of no folders. It's either in your inbox ready to work or it's done, and I don't file it any other way. So sometimes I tag stuff. Certainly in Gmail, that's easier to do. You tag stuff rather than put things in inboxes. But for the majority of stuff, I literally put it in. It's either in my inbox ready to be worked on and it's not done, or it's in a done folder and it is done and I don't have to worry about it. So I don't overly complicate things any more sophisticatedly than that. And the reason I do that is because Gmail search is so intuitive and so easy. You can put a couple of keywords in and you can almost always find everything that you've lost or you're looking for in that folder without having to spend time setting up complicated file structures. It's so time consuming sometimes to be looking for the folder that you're trying to put stuff. Just get it out the way. It's either done or it's not. So do it, delegate it into an inbox, or delete it if it's not important. You don't need it in your inbox at all.
So another element we should be automating is credit control. This one actually follows on quite nicely from the finance inbox, because if you do have credit control set up as an automated process, you can have all your replies going back into a centralized inbox. So really handy because it keeps them all in one place. But mainly with credit control, if we're using systems like Xero, there's Xero reminders which we can use. So we don't need to constantly be chasing these customers reminding them to pay their outstanding invoices.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that manually. It's handy to have it in place. One thing I will say with this process is if you're going to automate credit control, your account system has to be up to date. Otherwise, it just causes confusion. So the main thing to say with this one is make sure all of those payments are reconciled from your customers, and make sure all of your invoices are uploaded before the reminders are due to go out.
Yeah. So third one is quotes. You can set up sales orders and you can semi-automate your sales process and your sales pipeline, so you don't have it in multiple systems. You can create quotes in Xero. You can send them out to your customer so you know where it is and which stage it's at. Customer accepts your quote and that automatically comes back into Xero, ready for you to convert that to an invoice. So there are external systems to Xero, to QuickBook and all that kind of stuff, where you can create external quotes, but why don't you keep it all in the same place? Keeps it neat and tidy, helps you to automate the process, helps you to know where everything is, stops you from getting lost and wondering, you know, where have I got to with this customer, where have I got to with that customer? And then when the customer accepts it, you can just swap that invoice, that quote over and convert it to an invoice. So it keeps things nice and clean and super simple. And of course saves you a huge amount of time.
Another one we could automate is payment services. So we're issuing invoices from Xero. We can make it really easy for our customers to pay. So we can use some of these various payment services such as Go Cardless, which collect direct debits. So quite helpfully, we're collecting the cash without actually needing to actively chase for it, without needing to do any manual chasing. It's just a wonderful system if you can get people to sign up to direct debit.
And if you've already put in your terms and conditions and in your quotes that all payments must be collected by direct debit within X many days of the invoice being raised, they've accepted that, then you can get them to set up the direct debit once they've accepted the quote, or once they've accepted your offer to do the job. Set up the direct debit, you raise your invoice, and then it gets collected automatically and you don't have to chase payments. So direct debit, even if your customers aren't always repeat or not regularly repeating, it's still a really good idea to think about direct debit. Will that help automate the payment processing in your business?
So what one have we got next? We have
payment services for Stripe.
Stripe. Oh yeah.
So
okay.
So not quite the same as setting up direct debits, but rather than chasing for payments, set up Stripe and PayPal and payment services so that you've got one-click payment options in your invoice. So the invoice comes into your client's inbox. They can view it on the online. So in those instances, sometimes you don't want to attach a PDF. Get them to view the invoice online, and then in the top right hand corner, certainly in Xero, is an option to pay by card or PayPal. So 9 times out of 10, clients who are receiving your invoice will pay when the invoice comes in, or will look for it when the invoice comes in, click the button, make that payment, and then of course you don't have to worry about credit control because your invoice is paid.
So it sort of eliminates one of our points earlier if you get it just right. The other thing you need to monitor is that, of course, if anyone does have direct debit, just make sure that they're all going through, and keep an eye on any if they have cancelled or if any cards have timed out.
Yeah, so these direct debits are quite good. Certainly if you use the Go Cardless system, it emails you to tell you if someone's cancelled or if it's failed. So again, you can have a process for follow-up on those. Or you can just go back into the system, click the button and ask it to call the direct debit again, which again is another quick way of collecting payment.
Very handy, isn't it? Another one we can automate is the bookkeeping side. So if you have Receipt Bank, Auto Entry, HubDoc, etc., this can help automate the bookkeeping entry because it does most of the manual data entry for you. Very handy, and actually they're really reliable systems, and they're just getting more and more accurate as time goes on as well, which is just and perfect outcome, really.
And it does save a huge amount of time either looking for receipts at the end of the month or looking for them when you're doing your VAT return. If you spend a couple of minutes to download the receipt or forward it onto Receipt Bank or take a picture of it with the app on your phone, if you do that all now at the point of purchase rather than later or at the end of the week, it saves you so much more time. Then you don't have to worry about it until you go into Receipt Bank or Xero and start to process the invoices that are all waiting for you to start actioning.
Yeah, that was a really handy one.
That's one of the key semi-automations that we find saves our customers huge amounts of time. So strongly recommend you look into Receipt Bank, HubDoc, or Auto Entry. So Receipt Bank is the most sophisticated, but with that sophistication comes, it's a little more expensive than some of the others. HubDoc and Receipt Bank and Auto Entry are pretty good, but Receipt Bank is still the sort of market leader in its area. And last but not least,
blog posts. So when we're setting up blog posts, we can have a link for people to download product, etc., and access our various items which we wish to sell. So it's just one of these things which makes it a little bit easier for the customer experience.
And for them to buy from you. So one of the things that is a real sort of earner, certainly for some of our clients, is to have a blog post that talks about a particular challenge or an issue that you have or you help your clients resolve, and then have a call to action at the bottom of that blog post. So that call to action might be, call us to have a phone call about it and have a discovery call. Now you can automate that so that they link to Calendly and then they automatically book it into your diary, or you can have them link into a product. So say, for example, you have a service attached to that blog post, and this is something that we've done this week. So we have a tax form that I often have to help people complete, and it's an online form to do with the US government. It's hugely complicated or overly complicated for what it does. So I get maybe 10-15 phone calls a month from people looking for help filling this in. Now typically by the time I've had the 10-minute conversation with them to help them fill it in, I can't then charge them for it because we've already had the conversation. So what I've now done instead is have got my blog post which tells them how to complete 90% of the form. They could go away and find out how to complete the rest of it if they wanted to, or they can click on a button, buy a checking service, a bit like the post office checks your passport. I can check their W8BME form, but they've paid for it before they've sent it to me and before we've had that conversation. So that helps by putting that money block in place. Not only has it helped me by earn a bit of cash on this particular service, it stops people from ringing up and me wasting 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes of my time filling out a form for a customer that I'm unlikely to ever have a conversation with again. And instead, I'm saving my time and I'm earning money on the people who genuinely do need help. Not a huge amount of money, but it's just enough to cover that 10 or 15 minutes conversation that I have with them. So think about how you can implement that in your business and use your blog posts to save you time and generate a little bit of cash. So that's it from us today. Your challenge is to see if there is anything in your business that you can automate. So spend a little bit of time now automating a process to save you time or make you profit going forward. And then let us know in the comments what you've done. We'll see you next week. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.